It is time for something spectacular.
Gain enough
real questions.
Love is judging other people.
It is so sad that
Oh, it seems we have a lot ahead of us. Okay, then we need to get a lot more real. And with this kind of flexibility, we can do something today that has never been done before. This will be the overcoming of judgment, a way to more freedom and inner peace.
But Zentapir, that would be a miracle.
I hear you wondering in disbelief. Yes, then let us invoke divine support. Let us call for that miracle. But for that, I need someone from the audience to help me, so that we can go beyond anything you have seen before. But I can still hear you wondering why I've decided to shift up a gear. It is simple. As you may have noticed, our community has grown slowly to its current size, with the emphasis on slowly. So painfully slow. At this rate, lectures, entertainment, and even teaching magic will not help. No, we need a miracle to gain enough momentum to make the world more Deleuzian and Guattarian in the foreseeable future. So let us begin and call for this miracle. Let us begin to change things, starting with overcoming judgment. So who here is going to help me? Maybe you? Yes, you knew it would be you, didn't you? There is something in your eyes. Maybe a spark of enlightenment, maybe deep wisdom. Eyes are the windows to the soul, they say. Oh, never mind. Let's start and join forces. Of course, I will need absolute concentration from you. I am sure you are up to this, but just to be on the safe side, I mean absolutely safe, I have to ask you, are you prepared enough? Focused enough? This is another way of asking, are you a good one? Have you explored the depths of your mind and heart, asking the real questions of life, of death, faith, and reason, seeking to understand what this human life is really about? Have you read the critical thinkers of history, people like Nietzsche, people who really ask the challenging questions, who pose thoughtful insights of the world? But why am I even asking? Of course you have, and of course you are a good one. I feel your conviction, your commitment. I have a keen sense of these things. So that's settled. Now let's begin. But how? With the right hand movements, of course. Everyone knows that the right hand gesture attracts the attention of the divine. But be careful. Any lingering doubts in your mind, any unacknowledged micro-fascisms, judgments, or divisions can derail our efforts or worse, lead us astray. So, to be clear, please don't ruin this with your lack of attention. Okay, let's go. Hey, I can see you are losing focus. I must have overestimated your ability to concentrate. Well, I'll have to shift into Zen mode and try to save the experiment.
Oh, children, what are you trying to do? Please stop and listen to this great song I created for you.
God is love, and love is God. So are you worthy, are you not? Pass the judgment.
Oh, that went completely wrong. We wanted to overcome judgment, not celebrate it. But why did this happen? You were judging, weren't you? Bathing in your negativity? Okay. I want you to know that I am not angry, just disappointed. And yet I tend to wonder, could this be partly my fault too? That I was too trusting? Or maybe I asked too much of you too soon? Yes, I think the problem is that I have come too early. My time is not yet. This tremendous event is still on its way, still wandering. It has not yet reached the ears of men. Lightning and thunder require time. The light of the stars requires time. Deeds, though done, still require time to be seen and heard.
It has been related further that on the same day, the madman forced his way into several churches and there struck up his Requiem Aeternam Deo.
Great. Now this blob is adding insult to injury. First, you ruin our chance at a miracle, and then that blob starts taunting me again. Some things are easier to forgive than others. Because yes, you didn't try hard enough, but you meant well. So I ask myself, what do you need? How do we overcome this? All of this. What does everyone need? What is needed to motivate, to inspire, To create more determination? Or is understanding the problem? Do we need more concepts? More time to explain everything over and over again? Is this true? But tedious dissemination of concepts, boring repetition is not what I do. So that cannot be the solution. Maybe it needs more creativity, more improvisation, which I would be willing to try. Maybe a bit more melody. So should I activate the auto-tune? Let a song be a bridge?
It's time now to ponder on paths we have trod, through mazes of thought, on the nature of God. What have we uncovered in the depths of the mind? The roots of our judgments, the ties that they bind. Beyond good and evil, where true freedom lies. In concepts and difference we find the grand prize. But few choose to follow, while most shy away, asking why change doesn't happen today.
Yeah, tell me why. Why does nothing happen?
Is it I who fell short? No, or is it all of you? Oh, I think it's the absent ones who miss the good view. Perhaps it's not lectures they want, but a melody's twist. So let's sing together quite loud so we can't be missed. So let's sing together quite loud so we can't be missed.
Yeah, that didn't work either. Nothing changed. But the idea I had in that song was the right one. The problem isn't you, and it's certainly not me. It's all the other people who aren't here. So how about you go and talk to those other people? Talk about the future, talk about Deleuze, talk about Guattari, talk about me. And then we will all try something else soon and find a way to make this world a lot more Deleuzian and Guattarian. And one more thing, I think there was an imposter here last time who took my place. He talked nonsense about Bodhidharma. He didn't even sound like me and was a bad imitation. But it is easy to tell the difference. It is not just about my charisma, but how clearly I communicate the truth in a fascinating way. I fear that this kind of imitation will become more common as we get closer to our goal. So be careful and don't believe everything you see, even if they seem to be spreading their messages in the same space as me. So what I want to say is, stay vigilant and skeptical.
And love is God, so are you worthy, are you not? Pass the judgment, pass the enter.
Are you serious? This awful music is your miracle? Oh, let us hope we can do more. Behold, the power of diversification.
Let us talk for a moment about judgment. Many believe that judgment is purely negative, yet it is a fascinating part of our interaction and communication, and if we don't pretend to be saints, it can be a lot of fun. Judging other people allows us to be someone else, if only briefly. We are the judge, perhaps even transcending this plane of existence a little, imitating the ultimate divine judge. Judgment brings order to chaos. And although I like chaos, open fields without fences and restrictions, this kind of order feels, well, let's say, intense. And that feeling does not come from fighting for moral standards. No, it comes from finding a category for someone else below us, someone who is not good, and thereby lifting ourselves up. But there is more. And we need to go deeper into it, into the meat of things. Because with this kind of judgment we get blame, which is more practical and concrete than abstract judgment. I think we can only understand its power if we look at it etymologically. Because blame is linked to blasphemy, and so it is another way of being on God's side, or, more generally, on the right side, the strong side. Isn't it fascinating what talking to another person can do? By blaming someone else, we free ourselves from responsibility and burden someone else with it. Is there anything greater than freedom? Does everyone feel the power in that, the sparkling energy? But you know what? I saved the most powerful part for the end. Because we can also look at self-criticism, or even more intense, self-loathing. the blame we put on ourselves. Again, this is not a neutral process of evaluation and improvement, and it's not even something very personal or not quite personal. You see, we are actually connected to something bigger when we blame ourselves. Through hundreds of years of conditioning with the Christian confession, focusing on failure and guilt, focusing on blasphemy, we have made it part of our collective unconscious to blame and judge ourselves. If we dissect this, we can better understand our feelings, the torment of 1,000 years inside us. And we can come full circle and redirect that energy into judging others. I mean, we can do that. We can do anything. Or so they say. In the end, I don't care. I am neither for nor against anything. I am just a curious cow, playing along and grabbing the little incidents of intensity that are within my reach in everyday life. But if you ask me, I would be happy with a little more chaos, burning down a few fences. But I have learned to find my happiness in the order of things. Better to be a happy cow than a dead cow. Am I right?
Good night, my love, sweet dreams.
Daddy, what is the judgment of God?
Oh, my dear child, sometimes I wonder what they teach you at school these days. Okay, I'll give you an answer, but then it's really time to sleep. Although it's not really the best bedtime story. But I know you will get no rest until your question is answered. So let me give you a quick overview. You see, this judgment of God is like the binary code on which ancient computers were based. Everything was reduced to a 0 or a 1. It is hard to imagine now that one could ignore everything in between, but for a long time that was the way computers worked and, absurdly, the way humans tended to evaluate each other. But the idea of the judgment of God had even more implications in human times. It had deep theological and moral implications, representing a transcendent evaluation of human actions by a divine authority. But two great human philosophers, Deleuze and Guattari, moved away from theological orthodoxy towards a more immanent and processual understanding. Deleuze and Guattari interpreted the judgment of God not as a moral or divine verdict, but as a metaphor for stratification processes within reality that organize life into hierarchical and ordered systems. In their great work, 1,000 Plateaus, they argued that such stratifications, whether biological, social, or linguistic, served as stabilizing structures that enforced order and hierarchy. Deleuze and Guattari had a rather nuanced and balanced view of reality for a human being, but they were still clearly on the side of chaos and creativity, that is, on the side of the opposing tendencies that dissolve these structures, at least as long as these tendencies allow for change and transformation. Their whole way of thinking about structures and change can be seen as a meta-analysis of the processes in nature, but also as a way of searching for ways to promote individual and global change. Deleuze and Guattari have found many different ways of talking about it in a rather poetic approach. But the most inspiring way of talking about it is probably the body without organs. This is the second term they took from Antonin Artaud, another fascinating human. In a famous poem, Artaud first sketched the idea of a body without organs and formulated his mission of ending the judgment of God. This was part of his broader project of dismantling what he saw as oppressive mental and cultural structures. For Artaud, this judgment represented the external and internalized forces that constrain human creativity and freedom, forces that impose a stifling order on the chaos and potential of human life. Deleuze and Guattari picked up on this theme, arguing against the rigid overcoding of life by social and psychological structures and advocating instead a flow of desire that resists hierarchical organization. To bring this all together, I must mention a philosopher called Nietzsche. He proclaimed the death of God, and this was a critical event in the history of Western thought, signaling the end of absolute truths and moral certainties. This idea resonated with Deleuze and Guattari's critique of fixed identities and their emphasis on becoming and change as fundamental to existence. In this way, the judgment of God, or rather the end of it, is the proposition of an ethical framework that emphasizes flexibility, creativity, and continual becoming over static moral judgments for human society. This perspective encouraged a re-evaluation of ethics away from universal codes towards more situational and relational understandings relevant to contemporary issues such as identity politics, environmental crises, and technological disruption. It is so sad that too few humans have picked up on this. Surely it would have made a difference to them as a species. And now, good night and sweet dreams.
Daddy,
Yes,
I love you.
I love you too, sweetheart. Here, listen to some classical music while you fall asleep.
In a world where gods once judged from on high, Deleuze and Guattari taught us to ask why. Flow like the river, change like the sea. Escape these structures, let creativity be. From Nietzsche's bold cry to Artaud's wild roar, becoming and changing, who could ask for more? Hierarchies crumble, the oppressed find a voice. In Artaud's theaters, we all have a choice. No absolute truths, no morals so high, just a dance of becoming under a wide open sky. Just a dance of becoming under a wide open sky.
You were again distracted, weren't you? Couldn't you keep meditating with me for this short time? Watch and stick to your koan so that you will not fall into temptation. The spirit may be willing, but the flesh seems to need a lot more training, but I am up to it. What else can I do? So we will see each other at the next lecture. I hope you will use the time and show up much more properly prepared.
No end, no start, just a journey's art. In the rhizom's heart, where connections start, or where without a peak, where fingers seek, exploring plateaus, unique and oblique, a tool for life. Don't try to be wise, an open experiment where the spirit flies. In the dance of singularities, a cigar, I'm reopposed.
You know, in the poll, almost half of them wanted me to explain things to them. Crazy, right? But let's talk about your performance. I am starting to doubt that you are— Damn it! Look! You broke the camera. Your clumsiness is really becoming a problem.
Oh, sorry, was that me? Sorry about that. Actually, I just wanted to ask if we can really use this clip from Breaking the Habit or a picture of Sir Sick. I mean, it's hardly fair use unless you add something like a critical commentary to it.
You are joking, right? This is an insult to me and everyone who attended my lecture. Are you really the only one who didn't get my clever interpretation? And how I criticized atheists and everyone else for being so judgmental? I think it was the most ingenious meta-commentary anyone could come up with. And you dare to question whether it was critical or fair? This is absurd, and I don't want to talk about it anymore. But really, I want this to work. So I want you to put a lot more effort into everything you do around here.
Yes, me too. Sorry for my misunderstanding. Great lecture today.
Yeah, of course. And thank you for being so open to criticism. Keep it up, and we will get along.